For the last few years on the channel, we've been discussing missing animation projects, mainly from Disney and DreamWorks. And while those companies have made some top-notch movies and a slew of fascinating cancelled projects, I feel that it's finally about time that we give some devoted attention to another animation studio that have just as fairly carved out their name within the industry. And who better that we take a look at today, that being Sony Pictures Animation, where despite producing their feature films in an age dominated by CGI animated movies, that they've been able to reintroduce the 2D style to these films, making them look reminiscent of the classic hand-drawn look. And now, as part of a trend, other competitive studios have adopted this look for their own flicks. The fad can easily be traced all the way back to Sony Pictures. The studio has a treasure trove of cancelled films that indeed they all seem most fascinating. And hopefully, by spreading a bit of awareness, more information may come to light. Alright, with the context out of the way, let's begin our wee journey. Medusa was announced in June of 2014, set in ancient Greek mythology, where a young lady named Medusa gets cursed by a jealous goddess, where her hair is turned to snakes. So she embarks on a journey to reverse the curse. The pitch was proposed by Genndy Tartakovsky to be a twist and spin of the Medusa mythology, such as the Wicked Witch with Wicked, and to be animated in a most cartoony style. The movie would have been the directing debut of Lauren Faust, well known amongst her TV work such as Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and reimagining the LMP franchise of the 2010s. In September of that year, on the Sony Pictures Animation YouTube channel, they uploaded a video of Lauren Faust discussing about her career in the business, ending with her talking about her time working on Medusa. And then in July 2015 they uploaded another video centering around Medusa, that being a semi-interview but mostly sketch comedy of production manager of the film, Kevin Newell. Although with Medusa being in very early stages of pre-production at the time, both videos don't really reveal anything of the film. By November of 2015, Lauren Faust had parted ways with Sony due to creative differences, where Lauren wanted to keep the film as a wacky comedy. As for Sony, they wanted to turn the movie reminiscent as a Disney film. Robert Rugen was made the new director of the film, having previous attachment of a never-made Lego movie spin-off, Billy and Brick Race, and conceived a Rescue Rangers movie in 2015, although the movie that eventually came to be had nothing to do with his original vision, and because of this he declined any screen credit. He worked on Medusa for a period of 2 years before finally in 2019 the movie was cancelled. Hardly any production material has resurfaced of the film since its cancellation, although in late April of 2023, James Baxter posted on his YouTube channel a 2D animation test he did of the movie. This was made after Lauren Faust had resigned from the project. She commented on Twitter being pleasantly pleased that her idea of the snakes' heads having individual personality was still retained. During the mid to late 2000s, development began on a live-action CG hybrid of a Smurf movie, originally under the wing of Paramount Pictures to be made within the Nickelodeon division, made within the light of the success of their live-action remake of Charlotte's Web. The idea was to make a series of Smurfs movies focusing on the backstory of many of the characters. However, the Paramount movie never eventuated. Instead, the rights were picked back up by Sony Pictures, keeping the idea of making them a live-action CGI hybrid, but would turn them into more of the style of other big blockbuster family films, such like Alvin and the Chipmunks. And in the 2011 and 2013 films, would feature the Smurfs travelling out of their fantasy world and having their adventure on 2010's Earth. Each of the movies were financially successful, but were not cited as favourites for film critics. 2 weeks out of the release of Smurfs 2, it was announced that a third one had begun development, with a script being written up and slated for release in 2015. However, by the time that the year came round, it was announced that the Smurf series was going to be rebooted into a new CGI movie, which was released in 2017 titled Smurfs: The Lost Village, which was slightly favoured more by critics. And while certainly it made made back its money. In comparison, its box office performance wasn't the same as the 2 prior movies, so no more movie sequels have been made of this version of Smurfs so far. But in terms of the original planned Smurfs 3, while nothing further has been announced or officially released, but we definitely do know that a script was written of the proposed sequel because it got leaked during the 2014 Sony hack. Ever since, the script has been readily available to read online.
So Demi, what makes you think you'd be right to voice me? I think we have a lot in common.
Well, Miss Lovato, I suppose if you put it like that. In 2012, it was revealed that Sony Pictures had inquired and negotiated about the rights of making an Alf movie. Announced 16 years after the last project with Alf, titled, well, Project Alf. A direct-to-TV movie that was meant to act as a finale to the whole series, although it was bittersweet for the long-term fans. While there were sparse details, it was indicated that the Sony Alf movie was going to be a CGI live-action hybrid, in a similar vein to the live-action Smurf series, bringing Alf fully into the 21st century, ditching the Muppet for a CG counterpart.
So, what can I help you with today?
Oh, my cell phone. I can't get it to play any music. Look, nothing.
Or in other words, turning Alf into a 2010s family film Hollywood craze mabob, which certainly would have brought a lot of concerns to the long-term fans and the direction that the film may have gone in. But aside from a very low-res teaser poster of the film, nothing more was ever revealed about the project, with the film reportedly being dead in development since 2020. Who knows if we'll find out anything more from this potentially cancelled Alf movie. During the 2010s, Columbia Pictures / Sony was trying to carve out a film that could expand into not just a film series but a whole cinematic universe for the company, such as Disney and Marvel and Warner Brothers and DC. However, Sony had a stroke of bad luck as their big blockbusters. They would invest in a lot of money, but the movies would return very little for the company, where they might as well start again from scratch. One of the most, complicated projects was Sony's attempt to try and revitalise the Ghostbusters franchise, starting with the 2016 reboot, making a new division to make these movies, Ghost Corps. In October of 2015, it was confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter that Sony's animation division was in early talks to make an animated movie based off the Ghostbusters franchise, with Ivan Reitman confirmed to be a producer of the film. However, the following summer when the Ghostbusters reboot was finally released, it didn't quite recoup the financial rewards that Sony was hoping for, and some of its reviews being positive to mixed. Much of it valid constructive feedback, while others, well, just rude and rather unhelpful. By consequence, this has compromised plans for the future Ghostbuster movies. Such as things have been extremely quiet for the animated Ghostbusters movie. Now it does take time to make an animated feature, from 2 to 4 years. But since its announcement, the Ghostbusters animated film has certainly taken quite an exceedingly long time, compared to the typical other animated film. One would be mistaken to think that the film was simply cancelled, but apparently the film is still within the works. Who knows if the film will ever come to light? And if so, then how many versions and renditions the movie has gone through over the years? In the 2010s, Sony acquired the rights to Popeye. They plan to release a CGI animated feature by 2016, with Genndy Tartakovsky homing the wheel as the director, utilising the same cartoony art style like from Hotel Transylvania. In 2014, Sony had released a small behind-the-scenes teaser, interviewing Genndy on how much Popeye meant to him, and being a Russian lad trying to learn English, Popeye was quite good on helping him to learn butchered pronunciations.
Olive, there ain't no such things. They're just figmentations of the imaginations.
By the end of the presentation, they showed off a small bit of test animation of Popeye and Cheep fighting off some rogue pirates, and with Olive trying to evade the danger. And may I say, she is quite the rubbery and elasticated lady, while the test was immensely well appraised, and internally the studio was very pleased with the direction of the film. Sony wanted a more modern Popeye, which was not in Gendy's vision. Thus he resigned from the project in March of 2015 and moved on to work on another animated feature called Can You Imagine, which sadly got cancelled later on, with writer TJ Fixman assigned on board to rework the project. With the Popeye film nowhere close of being ready to release, the Emoji Movie took Popeye's scheduled slot of release, which opened in cinemas in 2017, to very interesting reviews. However, updates concerning the progress of the Popeye movie would go very quiet, and there would be nothing official announced not until 2020, where Popeye's right holders King Features Syndicate would work on the film without the assistance of Sony Pictures, and that Gendy would be returning to direct the feature. However, after 2 years in development, Gendy walked away from the project, accepting the fact that his vision of the movie was never going to be seen. Well, just one day later, an animatic of Gendy's rendition of Popeye was leaked onto the internet. So while it may never exist as a final product, at least now we can see some rendition of it. Now that this version of missing media of Popeye has come to some conclusion, any chance that anybody out there is up for finding the unfinished extended cut to the Robin Williams version? Now that's one I really want to see.